So I got this question from one of the Genealogy TV Academy members about how to attach and detach ancestors on the Ancestry platform, as well as some questions about floating trees and what they are. So that's what we're talking about today. I'm just going to kind of set up a story here, and I'll walk you through the steps of detaching and detaching. Let's just jump into it. All right, so Christiane Beck here was married twice. She was first married to Carl Schroeder, and then she was married to Anker Jensen. Okay, so I'm going to detach her son, Carl Wilhelm Schroeder, from Anker Jensen, just for demonstration purposes. So here's Carl, and here's his parents. And as you can see, under the additional relationships, I have Anker Jensen as a stepfather. Now I'm going to detach Anker Jensen. So all I do is go to Edit Relationships, and I go Anker Jensen. Right now he's listed as a stepfather. Okay, I'm going to detach him. I'm going to remove, and now he's removed. Now, one of the questions you had asked was if they were floating. And for those who are not familiar with floating, these are people that are detached from the tree. In this case, he is actually attached, but I'm going to show you how you can find your floaters if they're completely detached. And if they're completely detached, let me back up. We go to Edit Relationships. If we were to get rid of all these people, so there's no relationships in there at all, then you have a detached person. I'm not going to do that right now, but one of the things you want to do before you close out the profile is to make sure that you have tagged them using this little pencil icon. You open it up and you create a custom tree tag. And if you don't see that, you can then create a custom tree tag, right? I'm going to cancel out of that because I already have done that. I created a custom tree tag called floating tree. We call them floating trees or floaters, floating branches. Okay, I already know you know this, but for the sake of everyone watching this, they may not be aware. So now I'm back on Carl Schroeder, and I want to add Anker Jensen back in as a stepfather, just as an exercise to show you how to attach and detach somebody. Well, I could hit add family, but there's no way to add a father because the father is already here, the original biological father. What we want to add a stepfather. So what we do is we go to Edit Relationships, and we add an alternate father. And so here I want to search for someone already in my tree. You can actually, if the person's already in your tree as a floating branch or a floating person, you can then look for them, and there he is. You could hit add a new person if he's not in your tree at all. In this case, he is. So I'm going to say save. And now he's in there both as biological. Well, you can't have two biological fathers. This one I'm going to label as step, and then I'm done. There is no save button on this screen, so I just hit close. So in order to see him, you have to hit this additional parent relationships, and now you can see that Anker Jensen is in here, and so that's how you can reattach. Hey, did you know that you can get everything I produce all in one place, commercial free? Well, now you can at the Genealogy TV Academy. For one membership price, you can get an all-access pass that includes all of the online courses, all of the YouTube channel videos dating back to 2022, early release of any new videos coming up on the YouTube channel, the live classroom instruction via Zoom, and the handouts and worksheets associated with all the videos. If you want to learn more, go to genealogytv.org/academy. So for those who are watching that may not understand the floating tree concept, I want to refresh for everybody's benefit. So I have a tree here that's nice and intact, right? But I also have floating branches out there. And one of the things that you can do is go to the tree search button, and instead of trying to find all of the people in your tree, because if I were to list all the people, oh my gosh, you know, I've got 3,000 some people in my tree. I don't want to do that. I want to go to tree search, and I want to hit filters. And here we've got a bunch of tags. Well, one of the tags that Ancestry does not give us is a floating tree tag. I've actually asked them about that, and they say just use the custom tree tag. So here we have the custom tree tags. You can create a custom tree tag, and you can see I've got things like left off here and see comments. Well, I have one I created called floating tree. You can call it floaters, you can call it floating branches, you can call it whatever you want. But I just created that floating tree tag so that anytime I am putting people in my tree that maybe are witnesses in a document, they are other family members that I haven't quite figured out exactly how they fit. Maybe they're DNA cousins that I'm not exactly sure how they fit. All of those people, I might add a profile for them in my tree, and then I might tag them as a floater. And so once I tag them as a floater, they will show up in this filtered list from the tree view. You have to tag them as a floater in the profile view, just to be clear. You know, you can see here that I've got a floating tree tag. You do that with the pencil icon. You come over here and tag them as a floater. And then when you're in the pedigree view and you click on that search button, it pops open this side filter. You hit the filters button. I'll do that again just to show you. You hit the filters button, and then you hit floating tree tags and you hit done, and it gives you a list of everybody that's floating in your tree. Does that make sense? I hope so. So in this case, I think a couple of these people, I only had first names. That's all I knew. They probably showed up in a document and I was tracking them. And so I have a few here that are floaters, as well as Carl Schroeder, who is technically not a floater anymore because I have connected him. But I also found some other folks that I wanted to just kind of keep an eye on for the purpose of confirming the relationships. And so I hope that answered your question about attaching and reattaching. Just make sure that if they're already in your tree, that when you go to attach them, you are using the search for somebody already in my tree. Don't add them as a new person. Okay, so one last thing about floating trees, and that is that remember, they're floating if they're completely removed any relationship. So you would have gone to edit relationship and then removed all relationships. Now they're floating out there by themselves. And if you have not tagged them as a floater, you have to remember who they are or write them down somewhere, because there's no other way to really find them in the tree. It's not like you can zoom out and see little bits and pieces of floating trees. It doesn't work that way at Ancestry. So make sure you tag them. I have other videos on the screen that are a little bit more of how and why you do floating trees. It's a whole other strategy as to why you would do that. I hope that was helpful. Please subscribe. Talk to you.